All right, this is Rudy. It's May the 23rd. We're going to be reading today the trial testimony of Thoreson McDaniel Oberlander Gaston Bartko, still on day 2. Case number is 3:11-CR-00022. One thing I want you to think about is if it was so clear, the government's case, that Schaefer Cox was out to premeditatedly murder government officials, conspiracy to murder government officials, then there would be a very clear piece of evidence that says, aha, but see, there's no clear piece of evidence. That's why they need 70 different witnesses, and I think it was 700 pieces of evidence or something to that effect. Anyway, this thing is 136 pages. My goodness, it's going to take a long time, but I'm going to start reading it, and we'll just see how far we go. As a refresher, so you know who the players are, Scrocky and Yvonne Lamaro are the traders. They're the government lawyers. Traverso is Schaefer Cox's lawyer. I don't know if he's a good guy or bad guy. A lot of times, even a lawyer for a good guy ends up being a sellout. Dooley is the lawyer for Barney Coleman. You know what? I'm going to stop this and find out if Barney Coleman's still in prison. Give me a second. Okay, I went to BOP.gov. I can't find a Barry Coleman in prison. I don't know if he's out. Hold on just a second. Okay, so get this. I just did some little research on Barney Coleman. He's the rich Mormon, right? And man, I tell you, this, in my opinion, this goes to show what mixing up with the Mormons. It's like it's always a bad idea. And it appears that Barney Coleman's already out. He only got like 5 years, something like that. If the article I'm reading is telling me the truth, and I cannot find Barney Coleman, the Mormon, the rich Mormon, in the BOP system at all. So if I'm not mistaken, he's probably out by now. And you got Lonnie Vernon, who's his own lawyer described as a truck driver who likes to run his mouth. His release date isn't until 2033. So he's not a rich Mormon, right? So he don't get out. And you got, of course, the son of a Baptist minister and son of his grandfather was a Baptist. He's stuck in worse than Supermax. I'm not laughing because they're in prison, but it's like the Mormons and their connections always seem to get out of the deal. And it even appears like Barney Coleman's lawyer was saying, like, he didn't know how bad Schaefer Cox was. See, these people got no morals, and they're evil weasels, and they turn on each other. And unless you are a true Bible-believing Christian, then you don't rat out your Christian brother, and you don't make up false accusations about him for nothing. You'd rather die. But I don't think Mormons have that sort of commitment. I'm very familiar. I've had some really, really good friends that are Mormons. I know how they hard working and they prepare, and they got large families, and they're all about their families. But they don't have the truth. But anyway, oh my goodness. Okay, the more I learn is just incredible. So Scrocky and Lamaro are the government lawyers. Traverso is the lawyer for Schaefer Cox. Dooley is the lawyer for Barney Coleman. Hayden is the lawyer for Lonnie Vernon. Okay. We got the court reporter as being Denali Elmore. Anchorage, Alaska, Tuesday, May the 8th, 2012. The court, if you'll raise your right hand, Michael Thoreson, plaintiff, witness, sworn, the witness I do. The court, please be seated. And do you have a mic for him? Oh, I see, it's the mic. Put that right in front of your face. You may inquire. Mr. Scrocky, yes, Your Honor. Mr. Scrocky, good morning, Agent Thoreson. Good morning. Please tell the jury who you work for the FBI. And how long have you worked for the FBI? A little over 12 years. Okay, in the course of that 12 years, where was your primary duty station? Here in Anchorage. And with regard to your employment with the FBI, you had a designation as what? As a primary firearms instructor along with a SWAT team, along with a SWAT leader. And the court, just a second, I want you to tell us your name and spell your last name. The witness, absolutely, Michael Thoreson. Spell the last name, Thoreson. The court, thank you. Go ahead. Mr. Scrocky, you mentioned firearms instructor and SWAT team leader. Am I accurate? That is correct. Could you tell the grand jury what a SWAT team leader does? This is a petite jury, counsel. Mr. Scrocky, I'm sorry. Oh, he called him a grand jury, but it's a petite jury. Mr. Scrocky, tell the jury what a SWAT team leader does. A SWAT team leader, there's 56 of us in the FBI, one for each field office, being 56 field offices here in the FBI. A SWAT team leader is the head person on the SWAT team, depending on the size of the office here in Anchorage. There are 12 members of the SWAT team, so there is one supervisor, so to speak. The person is responsible for coordinating training, setting up training, making sure that all of the different trainings that's required by the FBI is conducted and done. Additionally, if there is an arrest, if there is a dignitary protection detail, for example, if we had an attorney general that came up to Alaska, he would be responsible for making sure that a plan is developed and then implemented and making sure that everything is done safely and in a manner that we can make sure that hopefully nothing happens to for the dignitary. Okay, with respect to your role as a SWAT team leader in the Anchorage office, let me turn your attention to March 2010, 2011. Excuse me, do you recall that month? I do. Okay, how were you involved with Fairbanks office in that capacity? I was contacted by an agent in Anchorage Division requesting that they would need the Anchorage SWAT team. I, along with the assistant team leader in Anchorage, traveled up to Fairbanks, met with the case agent, discussed what he needed and what he wanted. Then we conducted some site surveys, took a look at different locations where we would conduct the arrest, and then we did some discussions with other law enforcement persons, and then we came back to Anchorage and developed a plan for the arrest. Okay, and the arrest plan was for what? Which individuals? The arrest plan was going to be for Schaefer, Cox, Vernon, and then Coleman, Barney. Okay, and with respect to your plan in Fairbanks, how long were you there working on that plan? I believe it was at least a couple of days. And what type of resources do you bring to bear to assist with the arrest of these individuals? We had 12 members of the Anchorage SWAT team, and then due to the nature of the crimes, due to the significant issues that we faced being up in Fairbanks, we felt that we needed additional resources. So we contacted the Alaska State Troopers, and we also contacted the Salt Lake City Division of the FBI, and then sent some additional SWAT team members up to the Alaska to assist. And with respect to the plan for the arrest, were you provided information about the general circumstances of the investigation? I was. And how did that factor into the plan that you made for the arrest? It was significant. In what way? The information that we were provided by the case agent and along with other law enforcement personnel were that these individuals were known to carry firearms, which in Alaska is not anything unusual, but they were known to carry automatic firearms. They were known to make threats against law enforcement, and one of the most significant things was to wear body armor. Why is that? Was that important to you? Body armor is obviously, people wear body armor, including law enforcement officers, just to prevent one from getting shot. Most body armor is level 3, which prevents a handgun from going through your body. It'll stop any kind of handgun round. There are some handgun rounds. I don't think we need to go into specifics on what those are, but for general population, it'll stop a handgun round. They also stop a shotgun round, but they will not stop like a 223, like an M16. Back in Vietnam, that they used in the Army, they will not stop those. But the general agent population does not carry 223s. They just carry regular handguns. Okay, let me stop you there for a minute. Sure. Okay, with respect to the information you had, did all that factor into the specific location for where the arrest of Mr. Vernon, Mr. Barney, and Mr. Cox occur? It did. And so what location did you choose? We chose a vacant lot in Fairbanks. It had some buildings surrounding it, but in the middle was a vacant lot where there would be hopefully at that time, there would be no innocent bystanders. Not like Walmart parking lot where people would be coming and going and may get caught in an arrest situation, which we, of course, do not want to happen. But our site surveys, our surveillance at this lot showed us that people didn't come and go at this lot on a frequent basis. So again, giving us the possibility that no third party could get caught up. Okay, with respect to the arrest scenario, if that's fair to say, you were provided with some information about that? We were, yes. And did the information require you to reach back to the FBI headquarters in general for some specific items? Yes, that is correct. And what were those items? I made a request for 3 guns that had silencers. And anything else? Yes. And an additional, the FBI office also reached back and requested some grenades. Okay. And these came from what part of the FBI? In other words, there's something that they would use in an arrest scenario. Is that fair to say? Correct. Okay, and so they were provided to you per the FBI for your investigation. They were provided to the FBI, yes. Okay, Mr. Scrocky, if you can get Agent Sutherland 98, 99, 102 just to start. Did you have occasion to examine those three, 98, 99, and 102? Yes, all three were here. Have you seen them before your testimony here today? I have. Have you popped the lid and examined the contents prior to today? Yes. Okay, and do those items and those 98, 99, 102 reflect the items you ordered from headquarters for the arrest in this case? They do. And they reflect what items are in the cases. 22 caliber handguns with silencers attached to the handguns along with one magazine per handgun. Exhibit 98, 99, 102. Okay, Mrs. Crockett, Your Honor, we offer 98, 99, 102 for admission. Traverso. Which case? The court fair. Traverso. Are we talking about fair question? Mr. Scrocky, is there a way you can identify which firearm went to the defendant at the time of the arrest? There is some handwriting on here that I think I can advise what it states. Yes. And whose handwriting is that? That would be mine. Okay, and when did you put that on there? After the arrest? Okay, if you could go to 98. Okay, and that was, what does the writing on the box state? It says black seat. It says back seat. And what does that refer to? It would be that this was the case and the handgun that was found in the back seat of the vehicle in which we conducted the arrest on. Okay, is there a way for you to tell with respect to the arrest scenario with the defendants which one that corresponds to? Yes. Which one does that correspond to? That would belong to Coleman Barney. 99, I have it. Is there some writing on there that you placed on there as well? There is. And what does that state? It states front passenger seat. And with respect to, you had two arrest scenarios, correct? We did. Okay, and who was arrested first, to your knowledge? Vernon? Anybody else? And his spouse? And with respect to the second arrest, who was arrested on the second scenario? Okay, I'm going to stop here just for a second and pause. And we know Lonnie Vernon has got a release date of 2033, so I wonder if his wife is still in prison. We know the rich Mormon, Barney Coleman's already out of prison, so that doesn't surprise me. Mormons have a lot of connections inside of our Luciferian system. And then, of course, the Baptist, Schaefer Cox, he's got 21 more years to go. But I'm curious if Vernon's wife is still in prison. Give me just a second. Let me look that up. Okay, there is a Karen Vernon in WPO.gov system. She's 69. She's in Waseca, W-A-S-E-C-A, Waseca, FCI. But she's 69 years old. Lonnie Vernon is only 60 years old right now, so I don't know how likely it is he would marry a 69-year-old, but I don't know if that's the proper Lonnie Vernon or not. But I'm curious if his wife is still in prison. Who knows? Hard to say right now. Okay. Okay, and with respect, okay, and who was arrested first to your knowledge? Vernon. Anybody else? And his spouse? And with respect to the second arrest, who was arrested on the second scenario? Schaefer Cox and Coleman Barney. So with respect to exhibit number 99, which box does that belong to? Schaefer Cox? Hold on. I have it. Is there writing there you recognize? There is. And you wrote that? I did. Okay, and what is that? With respect to exhibit 102, that writing says what? It says Vernon from, and there's a license plate, and then I dated it 3/10/11. Okay, so 102 reflects Vernon, correct? With respect to the arrest scenario, Agent Thoreson, did you have eyes on the vehicle at all times prior to the arrest? No, we did not. Okay, I mean yourself. No, I did not. All right, Mrs. Crockett, move for the admission of 98, 99, 102. Traverso, can we do that after the cross, Your Honor? You may inquire. Pardon? Traverso, yes, can we do that after the cross? Can we deal with that? I think we've laid an adequate foundation with respect to those firearms and the arrest of that day, Judge. Traverso, okay, I have some questions. In aid of your objection, yes. The court, inquire. Okay. Voir dire by Mr. Traverso. As to 99, what items are in there? Again, there is a 22 caliber handgun with attached silencer and one magazine. Okay, and what part of the FBI lab did that come from? It did not come from the FBI lab. Where did it come from? It came from Quantico, a gun vault in Quantico. Okay, is there a lab in Quantico? There are a number of different entities for the FBI located in Quantico. So when you say Quantico, it could be a number of different things. Okay, do you have a date when that was received by you? No. Prior to March 10th? Not on me right now. I do not recall the date. No. Traversal, no further questions. Mr. Dooley, I do, Your Honor, if I may. Court, yeah. Vor dire by Mr. Dooley. Agent, you stated that Exhibit 98, you used the word belongs to Coleman Barney. I want to clarify something. Those things, all of them up there belong to the FBI, correct? They are owned by the FBI, correct? And they were before they got into J.R. Olson's truck, right? Correct? That is correct. And they belong to the FBI all through this process, correct? That's correct. Question, all right, you simply are saying that 98 is something that you link up with, you're simply saying that 98 is something that you link up with Coleman Barney? That would be a fair assessment, and not that he actually owns it. That would be correct. Okay. Dooley, no further questions. The court, any further objections now? 98, 99, 102 may be admitted. Direct examination continued by Mr. Scrocky. Could you pop open 98 and display the item that's in there for the jury, please, and you're holding in your hand what, Agent Thoreson? You can sit back down. Okay, again, this is a 22 caliber handgun with an attached silencer, and still in the case is a magazine. There was a magazine that came with that, correct? And inside the box, we don't need to go through each one of these in this kind of detail, but inside the Pelican Box 98, there are some foam material. That would be correct. All right, okay, thank you. So if you could open 99, please, and again for the jury, what are you showing them? Again, showing a 22 caliber handgun with an attached silencer. Is there a clip that came with that one as well? There is, yes, and if you could shut that, thank you. 102, and describe what you have in your hand for the jury. A 22 caliber handgun, attached silencer. Again, there's a magazine in the case. Okay, is that one a little different than the others in the terms of the grip? Yes, it is. How so? It has a rubber grip attached to it. Okay, and the barrel again is a silencer. Okay, as to those 3 pistol silencers, was one of them wrapped in black tape? Yes, it was. Which one was that? It should be 99. Okay, do you recall seeing those on March the 10th, those 3 22 pistol silencers? I do. And where did you see them? I saw them at the arrest of Schaefer Cox, Barney, and Vernon. Okay, Mr. Scrocky, if you could open the witness with Exhibit 74, approach the witness with Exhibit 74. Number again, please? It's 74, Your Honor. The court, 674. Scrocky, 74. The court, 74. Mr. Scrocky, you mentioned earlier that you had made a request, Agent Thoreson, to the FBI for some grenades. Yeah, I made some requests, correct. And how many did you order? The FBI ordered 4. Okay, and if you could examine the contents of Exhibit 74, please. Okay. Have you seen those items before? I have. Specifically, are those grenades that came from the lab to help with the arrest in this case? These are the grenades that came from Quantico, yes. Okay, and you had custody of those up until the arrest day, correct? The FBI here in Anchorage had custody, yes. Okay, did you in fact use those yourself on the date of arrest on March the 10th? We did. Okay, and you've had a chance to, they're contained in a circular little storage unit, correct? Correct. Okay, you had a chance to examine those, all 4 of those items in that box. I have. Are those the ones that provided and saw on March the 10th? They are. Move for the admission of 74. No objection, Your Honor. Pardon? No objection from Traverso, Dooley, Hayden. They may be admitted. Scrocky. Agent Thoreson, if you could take those 4 grenades out of the box for the record, these are not live, correct? For the record, they are not live, correct? Okay, if you could just uncap them and just show each one to the jury, please. Okay, if you could pull each one out, sure. Thank you, Agent Thoreson. With respect to the arrest scenario, you obtained items that were inert and pistols that were inert, correct? That is correct. Why did the FBI do that? In particular, we were making arrests, say when we give handguns and we give grenades to somebody, and we're making a high risk arrest with which the SWAT team is required to do to make high risk arrests. That's why a SWAT team is utilized. We do not want any potential additional weapons to be used against us. So to be used against any innocent person, we do not want them to be used to any potential hostages. For example, a source who may be involved in an arrest. You mentioned a source. Did that factor into the plan for the arrest on this occasion? It absolutely did, yes. And why? Why is that? Again, you have a potential hostage who is they're assisting law enforcement, and that person we require not to, carry a firearm or something like that. So we want to make sure that if something goes bad, we need to assess the threat and make sure and try as best we can for that person not to become a hostage. And that concern with respect to CHS, did that factor into the arrest scenario in terms of the source's vehicle? It did, yes. Why did the FBI what did the FBI do with respect to that to assist you in understanding what was happening with the arrest scenarios? We provided audio from the vehicle so we could hear what was happening inside the vehicle. Okay, and let's move to the first arrest scenario. Okay, that involves which people? The Vernons. Okay, and you had to mention you had a place picked out, a location picked out. What was the plan after the informant's vehicle, Mr. Olson's vehicle, entered the area? The plan would be for the suspects to get in the vehicle of the informant, get in the vehicle where we could hear the audio, we could hear that was happening, have the transaction of the grenades or any of the handguns be done there in the vehicle, and at such time that we felt there was enough evidence gathered, we would initiate the arrest. Okay, and with respect to the arrest of Lonnie and Karen Vernon, did that occur? It did. Could you tell the jury where you were located with respect to the Vernons and the informant's vehicle and what you were doing just prior to the arrest? Myself or the team? Yourself. I was located prior to getting in position. We were located about 4 blocks away in what I call the number 2 vehicle. I was in the passenger seat. Then at some point, then we moved out to about a half a block away, again outside the view of the individuals. Again, I was in number 2 vehicle in the passenger seat, so there was one vehicle in front of me. I was in the middle, and then there was one vehicle behind me. And who was doing the radio monitoring of the conversation from the informant's vehicle? Agent Oberlander. He was the driver of the vehicle that I was in number 2 vehicle. He was able to hear what was happening inside the vehicle. What did he do? What did he do with that information? As he was listening, he had a pair of earphones. As he was listening, he was then able to give me a real brief synopsis of what was happening. He wasn't able to give me exactly what was happening because he was listening real time, so he couldn't talk and listen at the same time. So he quickly gave me a little synopsis of what was happening. And the reason for giving you that information was, what were you going to do with it? I was then analyzing what he was giving me and then making the determination on when we were going to make the arrest. Okay, so you're the guy making the call. I'm the guy making the call, correct? Were there other agents in the proximity of the arrest scene that had you stationed or planned to station? There were. Could you describe the jury where they would have been? Absolutely. We had the vehicle, the informant's vehicle, positioned where we would have front end facing next to a trailer just off the right of that. It was an 18-wheel trailer. Just off the right of that trailer, we had not quite a snowmobile trailer, but it was a little bigger. But I'm trying to give you a size of it. We couldn't quite fit snowmobiles in there, but it's a fairly decent-sized trailer. We had 3 agents, SWAT team members, hidden inside that trailer. Excuse me? And approximately 25 to 30 yards away, we had a van that had the windows blocked so you couldn't see inside the van, and we had 2 anchored SWAT team members hidden inside that van. Okay, well, you at some point decided to do what with the arrest scenario with the Vernons, decided to execute it. Okay, and so you made a call over the radio, I take it, to do that, correct? And what happened after you did that? After I initiated execute, so I got on the radio and issued execute. And all of the different SWAT team heard the command. We had a predetermined place to go, make the arrest. So since we were in the vehicle, we were approximately, again, a half block away. We would not be able to go into the arrest site within a few seconds. So the persons in the trailer and the persons in the van, they needed to wait a few seconds, allowing all of us to try to get onto the vehicle simultaneously. Getting on there simultaneously would allow us to make sure we had all of the other proper people in place to making the arrest. And with respect to the Vernon's arrest, did you come up with a plan that included a distraction device? We did. And could you explain what that is, please? A distraction device is called a flash grenade. It's a high intensity. It's a 6 million candle power device. So literally if you have 6 million candles, it's an extremely intense light, and it makes a loud bang. The bang is within milliseconds, so the bang itself is a very short duration. But what it causes is such a high intensity that causes the human brain to lock and to see where the device is going off. That allows us to be able to hopefully get in a position where it allows us to be able to get in a position so somebody can't see us coming in on them. Okay, and what did you elect to do in this instance? Because again, we consider this a high risk arrest, and we needed to use as many tools as we could to conduct the arrest in the most safe manner. Okay, with the arrest of Mr. and Miss Vernon, did you see that occur? The arrest, I did, yes. Yeah, and about what time of day was it? I believe it was mid-morning. Lunchtime, somewhere around there. I don't recall specifically off the top of my head. Okay, and they were arrested. And they were arrested without incident, and is that fair to say? They were, yes. Okay, they were compliant as far as I saw, yes. Okay, no resistance. I was not aware of any resistance, correct? Okay, did you observe any? I did not observe any. Did you have any occasion to see firearms on either Mr. Vernon or Miss Vernon? I did. And with respect to Mr. Vernon, what did you have occasion to see or handle? He had two. I cleared two of the handguns that were found on Vernon. Let me rephrase that. There's two defendants, correct? There were two people arrested, correct? Mr. Vernon, correct, and Miss Vernon, correct? Okay, let me have you look at exhibit. Excuse me. Can we approach the witness with the photo book, please, Agent Sutherland? Side conversing. I'm going to have you turn to exhibit 112, and without going into the contents, do you see that there? I do. And do you recognize it from something you observed on March 10th of 2011? I do. Okay, with respect to your testimony here today and the arrest of the Vernons, that is correct. If I could have you look at 119, please, the same battery of questions. Do you recall seeing what's in the photograph with respect to the arrest of the Vernons on that date? I do. And what corresponds to your testimony with respect to the arrest? They do. Do those two photos depict firearms? They do. Do you have a recollection of those firearms? I do. Offer exhibit 112 and 119. No objection, no objection. They may be admitted. 112 and 119 are in evidence. Your Honor, I actually had some follow-up on that. I'm sorry I didn't speak up soon enough. Go ahead. May I, Your Honor? Void dire by Miss Hayden. Special Agent Thoreson, 112 and 119, can you tell us where they came from? They came from Mr. Vernon. Both of them? I believe that's correct. I may be mistaken, but I believe that's correct. Okay. Miss Hayden, thank you. All right. Go ahead. Scrocky, were you the arresting officer? Answer, I was not. Okay, with respect to these two firearms, how did you become in possession of them? Answer, since I was overseer of the arrest, I stood back analyzing the situation to see if any additional resources needed to be pushed a certain way. So I did not have hands on any of the persons that were arrested. These people that did have hands on had to keep hands on the person. So when they found a firearm, they'd pass the firearm back. Since I'm a firearms instructor, typically with the FBI, we have had a firearms instructor clear the weapons and make sure they were rendered safe. We don't want to be handling a potential live weapon. Okay, so you've got an agent who's physically controlling the person, and they're handing you back what they find, correct? Okay, Mr. Scrocky, Madam Clerk, if we could dim the lights briefly, 112. Okay, oh, wait a minute. This is the picture of what we just admitted. Yes, sir. Yeah, all right. That's 112. Do you have that in a front of you? I do. With respect to the pistol displayed here, that pistol you saw on the day of the arrest, I did. That came from who, as you recall? I believe it came from Vernon. Mr. Vernon, I want to point your attention to, let me see if I can get this to this area here. Do you see that where I've marked where the round and the slide? I do. Can you tell the jury how that got there? When I cleared the weapon, there was a magazine in the weapon that had ammunition in the magazine, and there was one round in the chamber, meaning it was ready to be fired. When I removed the magazine, I then pushed back the slide in a locked position, which then ejected the round from the chamber. I then placed the round that was in the chamber as like that, and then locked the slide back. So when I had the photographer come up, you'd be able to see what there was, one round in the chamber. We do not want to leave a round in the chamber again because for safety reasons, we do not want to have a live weapon. So that's why we took the photograph like that. All right, do you recall the magazines here that I'm circling as well? I do. And do you know the weapon? And do you know what weapon they went to? I believe they went to that weapon right there. Okay, Mr. Scrocky, if I could have you go to 119. Do you see the firearm there? I do. And I'm going to circle that center section of firearm. Do you recall that firearm? I do. And where did that come from? It came from Mr. Vernon, and it was seized that day as well. It was. You can raise the lights, Madam Clerk. What was the only arrest that the FBI made on March 10th? Was that the only arrest that was made by the FBI on March 10th, 2011? It was not. Okay, there was another. There was, yes, and that involved who? Schaefer Cox and Coleman Barney. With respect to the arrest scenario and the location, were they the same? They were. And did the second one arrest occur as to plan? It did not. Okay, could you please explain to the jury what happened with respect to your plan? The plan was going the same. We were, again, 3 to 4 blocks away. Oh, he said, did the second arrest occur as to plan? And the answer was, it did not. The plan was going the same. We were, again, 3 or 4 blocks away. We had the same persons hidden in the van and the trailer. Mr. Cox and Mr. Barney approached, got into the informant's vehicle. They had discussions, and then the surveillance who were set up way outside of the scene notified on the radio, and another vehicle had pulled into the parking lot and was approaching two vehicles which the informant was sitting in. Okay, let me stop you there. About how much the time transpired between the Vernon arrest and the arrest of Mr. Cox and Mr. Barney, I want to say about an hour, somewhere around there. After the first arrest, we tried to hurry up and get everybody out and get any officers out of the scene. Try not to heat up. We call it heat up the area. Try not letting other people to see what was happening. Okay, so you mentioned that you received information of a vehicle coming into the arrest area. We did. And what happened? What did you do with that information? What was your response to that? Again, everybody on the SWAT team, all members are listening in on the radio. I myself thought, what's going on? We have another vehicle. Is this a friend? Is this somebody that Cox or Barney had invited to it? This is not something, of course, that we had planned on. So we have an uninvited, unidentified. It could be a threat. It could be an innocent person. We didn't know at the time, at that moment. Okay, so what did you decide to do? We couldn't do anything. We had to wait, see what happened. Okay, and with respect to Agent Oberlander, what was he doing? The same thing in respect to this arrest scenario as he was before? Yes, he was. What was he doing? Again, he had a pair of earphones on and he was listening to the audio of the discussion inside the vehicles. Okay, at some point, did you get a read from his facial expression that things weren't going quite right? I did. And tell the jury what you saw and then what you did. After the vehicle had pulled in, a few seconds went by, and Agent Oberlander advised that he was able to hear some discussion from our vehicle to this unknown vehicle. At some point when I see his eyes, as we call it, eyes bulging out of your head, and heard him say, excuse my language, oh shit. And that gave you what reaction? I felt the same thing. I have a SWAT team member stating, oh shit, and now I'm concerned what's going on. Okay, is there a vernacular word that you folks use in situations like this that you sent out to the team members? I did. What would that be? Prior, what happened was, once he listening, after he said, oh shit, I heard him say, he just told people in the car, being our subjects, that cops are here. Agent Oberlander then said, compromise. And I have to trust Agent Oberlander. He's the one hearing this. Once an experienced SWAT team member says compromised, I immediately got on the radio and announced compromised 3 different times to make sure that the audio went through and everybody heard. And when you say something like that, what do you expect your fellow team members to do? Immediately react. Do not wait. Like on the first arrest where we had a predetermined wait of a few seconds so everybody could get on the scene at the same time. That's totally out of the door. Compromise means something bad has happened or is possibly going to happen. Usually that means that there is a tremendous threat to either law enforcement or to, again, it would be the source in that vehicle. So immediately get out of the vehicle, get out of the trailer, and approach and make the arrest now. And is that what happened? Okay. I got to take a break, folks. This is, we're on page 34. So I'm going to pause it and we'll start again later. It did. The citizen who showed up at this arrest scene, did you have a chance to confront him or meet up with him during this event? I did. And what was his reaction to your folks' presence there? Surprised? He was very, very surprised that we were there. Okay, was he in effect arrested? He was, at the time, arrested and then let go afterwards. Okay, if I could have you turn your attention to the notebook of photos and have you look at 85, 86, 87, do those look familiar to you? They do. Okay, with respect to 85, that shows one of the exhibits in 74. Which would be the grenades? Okay, yes. Okay, 86 depicts a silencer. It does. And 87 also depicts a silencer. It does. Okay, and those are all located in what? In which vehicle? What vehicle? It would be in the source's vehicle. Okay, we would offer 85, 86, 87. No objection from Dooley, Traverso, Hayden. The court, 85, 86, 87 may be admitted. If we could dim the lights, please, Madam Clerk, publish 85, Sean. Okay, Agent Thoreson, in Exhibit 85, do you recognize the interior of that vehicle? I do. And what vehicle is that? Describe that. Again, it would be the source's vehicle. And in 85, you can see the grenade canister. You can. Correct? Correct. And in the box where the silencer was, that is correct? Scrocky, 86, please, Sean. 86 depicts one of the silencers you had earlier on, Agent Thoreson. It does. And what would be which seat of the informant's vehicle? Front passenger seat. And 87, is that another one of the silencers that you provided for the investigation. It was, and is the front seat or the back seat of the source's vehicle back seat? Okay, thank you. Agent Thoreson will have you look at Exhibit 91. I have it. Okay, let me catch you up to you. Let me have you go to 92. I have it. Okay, now there's an item depicted in Exhibit 92. I don't want you to go until we get it admitted. If it's admitted, but do you recognize what item is depicted in 92? I do. Okay, and is that something that you recognize is provided from the FBI to your investigation for the arrest on March the 10th? It is. It's similar in size and circumstance and description. It is. We would offer Exhibit 92, traversal duly Hayden, no objection, court. It may be admitted. Scrocky, Agent Thoreson, in Exhibit 92, I'm going to circle this item here. Do you recognize what that is? I do. What is it? One of the grenades that was provided by Quantico. Thank you. And with respect to the grenade depicted in 92, what did that correspond to the grenade case that was in Exhibit 85? It would. It would fit in there, correct? Yes, it would. If I could have you turn your attention to 95, I'm going to go through a series of those briefly. 95, 98, are you with me? Yeah, 99 and 102, yeah. Do you recognize the items that are depicted in those photographs and where they're located? I do. And they're located in which vehicle? Again, it would be the source's vehicle. Offer 95, 98, 99, 102, 98, 99, 102 are already in evidence. So we're talking about 96. No, there is no 96. Oh, I duplicated my list. So 95 is the only one, I think. 95 is not incorrect. Any objection to 95? No objection from traversal duly Hayden. It may be admitted. Scrocky, if you could put 95 up. Okay, Agent Thoreson, do you recognize the interior of that, what's depicted in 95? I do. Hold on just a second. What would that be? The source's vehicle? Now, if you could look at the photo, can you see the item there I circled in blue on the sort of up to the right there? I can. What's that item? The hand grenade. And then the other item I circled there below, the hands in the photograph, it is one of the .22 caliber handguns with a silencer. And then down here in the bottom right, do you recognize what that is? I do. What's that? It is the case that the hand grenade goes into. With respect to Mr. Scrocky, can you raise the lights, Denali? Thank you. Agent Thoreson, with respect to those 4 grenades that we talked about and after the arrests were completed, did something happen to one of those grenades? Yes. What was that? It had been misplaced for a short period of time. You guys couldn't find it? That is correct. Was it ultimately found? It was. Okay, and finally, with respect to how the delineation of authority goes in an arrest scenario like this, you have people who are confronting individuals first. Am I right about that? I don't understand. I'm sorry. Did you have people assigned to actually arrest and take into physical custody the defendants? We had persons. When you devise a plan, you cannot be too specific on the plan. You don't want to get what a person says, oh, I need to go there. You need to be able to adapt. But we had certain persons go to a certain area, if that answers your question. Okay. And with respect to you, did you actually arrest anybody? I personally did not. And you were the guy hanging behind a row or 2 back, so to speak. You call yourself the overseer, analyzing the situation and determining if something needs to be changed, if there needs to be additional resources put someplace. So I would stay back and analyze the entire situation until it was resolved. Scrocky, that's all the questions I have for Agent Thoreson. Thank you. Cross-examination. Traverso, good morning, sir. Good morning. When you went to this place, and what was your understanding of what it was in everyday life? Was it a fuel stop? Was it a meeting place? What kind of place was this? I was told that it was a warehouse that would be able to use. I was not given specifics who owned it. I'm not familiar with Fairbanks, so I can't tell you exactly today, what street it's on or what. Can people stop there to get fuel? There is a fuel stop maybe 3/4 of a block away. I can't tell you if it's commercial or if it's a residential or whatnot. I can't tell you. Did you see any trucks, tractor-trailer trucks? Do you recall? I'm thinking back. I don't believe I saw any vehicles getting fuel when we were there. Did you see any tractor-trailer trucks idling? I don't recall any tractor-trailer trucks idling, no. Okay, it doesn't mean there wasn't. I would be more going with I don't think there was any, because we would be concerned about people hanging out there. You'd be concerned about that, so you would have photos of that, wouldn't you? I can't answer that question whether there was. You didn't have any photos or not? Videos of the scenario or of the place? Mr. Scrocky has referred to an arrest scenario about 10 times. Do you have videos of the area where this was taking place? Videos of the arrest or videos prior or what? Videos of the scene outside? Were you going to have this arrest take place? We did not have any. We did not do any videos. Okay, thank you. And you assessed the situation because you were concerned for the informant, you know. In other words, there might be a hostage situation, so you were actually concerned about that, right? We're not only concerned about the agents who are participating in the arrest, we're also concerned about the subject, and that we're arresting, along with, but any sources? My question was, you were concerned, Mr. Scrocky, he's not done. Traverso, Scrocky, I'm sorry, he's not done answering his question, Judge. Traverso, I'm not specifically asking about the informant. The court, all right, state the question. By Mr. Traverso. You were concerned about the informant, were you not? He's one of the persons that we're concerned about, yes. And to your knowledge, did you have any information that Mr. Cox or Mr. Barney had made any threats on this informant? I do not recall at this time if there was any threats made against the informant. Okay, well, you did have a case analyst there. You were there. You were sizing up the situation for potential dangers. So you were part of a SWAT team, correct? That is correct. Okay, and you mentioned earlier that one of the grenades got misplaced. Which grenade got misplaced? I don't know which grenade. I don't know if they were even marked to identify, differentiate each one, so I don't know. You don't know which one, is that? I do not. One of the grenades that came out of the box that you showed earlier, it would be. Okay, that came from Quantico, it would be. Okay, help me out here. Are you a case agent, a special agent, FBI agent? What kind of agent are you? I would be all of them, but on this particular arrest, I was one of the SWAT agents. I was not the case agent on this case. I have no involvement in this case prior to conducting the operation for the arrest. A case agent would be the person who's maybe supervising the informant over a long period of time or has the case and has done surveillance and so on and so forth. Is that right? That would be a fair assessment. Okay, and then what is a special agent? Special agent, again, is all of them. All of the agents for the FBI are special agents, so a case agent is just another name that we use, but we're all special agents. Okay. Traverso, I have no further questions, sir. Court, thank you, Mr. Dooley. Let's leave your cross. All right. Until after lunch. And ladies and gentlemen, again, follow the instructions about recess. We have a couple of more matters to take care of here before we break. I think I indicated that we would normally reconvene at 1, didn't I? No, I didn't. I just said 8:30 to 5. Let's reconvene at 1:30 today, and we should talk about how long we're going to take for lunch. It takes a while, and of course, the lawyers need to time out of the court to get ready for the next session, always too. Anyway, folks, follow my instructions about recess. Be back ready to come in the courtroom sharply at 1:30. Okay, you may be the clerk. Judge, did you want to speak? The court, leave your materials. The judge, did you want to speak with one of the jurors? The court, oh yes, thanks for reminding me. Juror number 2, will you remain? I want to ask you about your note. Side, okay. Thank you for the reminder. Oh, no problem, ma'am. Would you sit in front of the microphone, please? Thank you. Please be seated. I got your note that you indicated you're a member of the same church that Mr. Dooley indicated that Mr. Barney belonged to. I guess not the same individual, church, or stake, but the Mormon church. Do you know Mr. Barney through the connection in any way or any members of his family? Juror number 2, no, I do not. And is that fact going to affect your ability to fairly and critically judge this case? No, I just thought that you should know. The court, I couldn't hear you. No, it will not. I just felt that you should know. The court, well, thank you for that. And you can treat him just the same as you would any other person that was not, did not share the same religious beliefs? Juror number 2, yes, Your Honor. The court, okay, any questions of the witness, counsel, or of the juror? Ms. Lamoureux, no, Your Honor, no. Okay, thank you, juror. I appreciate you passing that information along to us. You can be excused for lunch. I have a couple of other things. You step down, Agent Thoreson. The court, I am accustomed to having gun locks on all guns displayed in court. I don't know if there are more you're going to have, but I don't like them having a tie through them, or something. I don't like having them without having a tie through them, or something. Mr. Scrock, the zip tie, they are zip tied, all of them. Oh, they are? Yes, sir. I didn't see it. Yes, sir, we made sure. All right, okay. They are all zip tied? Yeah, good. I guess they're black ties. I could hardly see. It goes through the barrel and comes out through the side. Oh, yeah, okay, great. Thanks. Agent Sutherland, don't be whispering to the witness. You're just carrying exhibits. Don't say anything to him at all, and everything has to be on the record here, and so don't talk, okay? Mr. Sutherland, yes, Your Honor. The court, I've got 2 huge exhibit books. I can't find exhibits in them because I'm sure sequential in there, but they're like 1,000 pages in a book. I don't know where to look. Miss Lamoureux, Your Honor, and the exhibit numbers are listed on the range of exhibit numbers. The court, Miss Lamoureux are listed here, and if you like, we can make tabs if that would be helpful for you so that every 10 numbers to flip to them quickly. The court, that would be very helpful. Miss Lamoureux, okay, the court, I don't want you to have to do it. Do you have someone at a lesser? Miss Lamoureux, we'll make it happen. Pay grade 2, we'll make it happen. All right. That would be helpful to me to follow along. I think that's all we have. We'll reconvene 1:30 today. All rise. This matter is in recess until 1:30. The clerk, all rise. His Honor, the court, this United States District Court is again in session. Please be seated. I know defense counsel is maybe worried about standing or not when you question a witness. It's perfectly okay for you to question a witness from your chair or stand if you prefer. If it's your witness or you're going to be a long cross-examination, perhaps to the lectern would be better, but suit yourself. Okay, feel comfortable in whatever's, Mr. Dooley, thank you, most comfortable for you. Okay, are you ready to proceed? I have one issue, I think, for Your Honor. Mr. Dooley has an exhibit up for cross, I believe, Exhibit 91, right? Am I correct, right? And our concern is that at the top where it says 91, it says Olson handing the grenade to Coleman while Coleman was on the phone. I can take that off and just say 91. How's that? That would be great. Okay, that's fine. If that's how you're going to organize it, that's great. But if we could remove that. Yeah, the photograph should not bear captions that are not part of the exhibit. I can fix that. I thought you were better with a shovel. I thought you were better with a shovel than a computer. Well, the natural course of events made me into a lawyer. Okay, that's page 51, and I'm going to pause and we'll come back later. All right. Are we ready? Not quite. I got to find the blank. Hold on. All right. Not quite. I got to find the blank button. There we go. How's that? Is our witness here? He is. Okay, you can bring the jury in. It's crossed my mind that a lot of these jurors don't know about hand grenades. They're probably interested in how a hand grenade works. Mr. Scrocky, do you know? Mr. Dooley, they're perfectly safe. I don't see what the trouble is. The court, well, it's not that, just curiosity. Some of us have flung them. Thankfully, they're not in anger. The court, that's only an observation I make sometimes. I think the jury is probably wondering about something, and I mention it to counsel because if it comes to my mind, it likely has come to their mind, and you can cover it or not, as you choose. It's not anything but a comment. The court, okay, please be seated. Mr. Dooley, you may examine. Thank you. Cross-examination continued by Mr. Dooley. Officer, Agent Thoreson, I'm sorry, I'm Tim Dooley and I represent Coleman Barney. When you went to this vacant lot, you, the owner of the vacant lot, is a fellow who approached Schaefer and Coleman at their truck, is that correct? I don't recall if that was the owner or if he was a friend of the owner. I don't, okay, specifically recall that, but the individual did speak with those two, correct? Basically, what the heck are you guys doing here? What type of nothing? That type of thing. As far as my recollection, again, I wasn't listening to the audio. Another person was, but that is what I believe I was told afterwards. Yes. And there was a tractor and a trailer that the FBI arranged to have there, correct? I believe there was a tractor, yes. The only trailer to my recollection would be the actual trailer that the FBI, that we had the agents in. Okay, so I maybe have to ask somebody else about that, but you had arranged for the tractor to be there? I personally did not arrange for the tractor to be there, no. How about FBI arranged it? I believe somebody for the FBI, it could have been the troopers, it could be somebody else. I'm sorry, I don't know. And this was part of supposedly the tractor owned by Han Solo, the nickname that was of this phantom truck driver, right? I would not know, sir. Okay, so you don't know quite what the scenario was on that. I don't, sorry. All right, fair enough. Now, when you fellows were making your arrest, now I'm assuming things, but correct me, you were dressed in a uniform of some kind, correct? That would be correct. And it would and it would say whatever your agency was, FBI, for example. Our uniforms have logos on the uniforms that state FBI, right? Pretty big ones, I assume. I'm going to show you, they're probably about that big, by that big with FBI, that simple. Okay, so about 6 inches, 4 inches, that'd be a fair assessment. All right, and they're gold or yellow in color and easy to see. They're black on green. Okay, sounds good. Do you have other agencies where they're other than the FBI? We did. And did they have distinctive uniform coats on or any kind identifying themselves? I don't know if they did or they did not because they were on the perimeter, so they were some ways away. Okay, when you folks approached this pickup truck in which Mr. Cox and Mr. Barney were sitting, they put their hands up, correct? I did not see any of that. I was going on for that because, again, I was a ways back for the actual individuals obtaining the suspects out of the vehicle. Okay, eventually you found that they had a handgun or 2 handguns in Coleman's case on them, correct? Somebody did, yes. Okay, and ostensibly they had 4 hand grenades in there, correct? As far as they know, I believe that's correct. And they saw that you're FBI, but you didn't hear them throwing hand grenades or firing their guns at you. I personally did not. Okay, could you look at the monitor for a moment? Is your monitor working? It is, and I hope that you see on the government exhibit 91, I do. And could you identify that, please? And would you like me to identify? Well, what are we seeing? You're seeing a hand, and you're seeing the hand that looks like it's pulling one of the grenades from the case. Plaintiff's exhibit 91. Okay, and this is, of course, one of your government exhibits. It is, do you think, an accurate portrayal, or has it been doctored in any way to your knowledge? I would have no knowledge of if it, all right, was it doctored or not? Well, I'd like to move into evidence government exhibit 91, no objection. Okay, and just so the folks can see what, all right, 91 may be admitted. Plaintiff exhibit 91 admitted. Mr. Dooley, and I'm going to unblank it, I hope. The court dimmed the light a little. Thanks, Mr. Dooley. Now, you see somebody's right hand holding something in the upper part of the picture. You can see that, correct? I can see a right hand, yes. And you can see there's something black. They're holding that on the right hand. I can see something black. Okay, that's what I would testify to. I see a hand with something black. I can't say if he's holding it or if there's that's a shadow or what it is. Okay, and you don't know what it would be if he's holding something. That would be correct. All right, now I'm going to ask you something, and I have the greatest respect for the FBI, but I had a disaster once. He's a special agent, meaning you can leap tall buildings, and he's a special agent, meaning you can leap tall buildings with a single bound. So the lowest guy in the class out of the FBI Academy, he's a special agent, correct, when he graduates? There's no lowest person in the class. There's no ranking in the FBI when one person graduates. They're all special agents? That would be correct. Okay. If you graduate from the academy, you're a special agent. And it's not some special promotion that you've gotten? No, it's not. All right. Can we turn the lights up, Denali? Yeah, I can take off of here. I can take that off of here. Bye, Mr. Dooley. Eventually, maybe it wasn't you, but eventually someone from the Bureau called the owner of the tractor and had him take it away, correct? I have no knowledge of any of that. Okay, I'll ask somebody else then. Thank you very much. All right, Miss Hayden. Mr. Dooley, your exhibit's still up on the big screen. It is? Mm-hmm. By Miss Hayden. Good afternoon, Special Agent Thoreson. Good afternoon. I want to back up a little bit. I know that you covered some of this on direct and just a little bit with Mr. Dooley, but I want to make sure I have a good understanding of the planning that went into this arrest. This wasn't something that just happened overnight, correct? That would be correct. Is it fair to say that this arrest was in the works for maybe at least a week or more? I would say a week would be a fair assessment, and this actually involved a number of law enforcement agencies besides the FBI. Correct. It involved, well, the FBI from out of state. I believe you said Salt Lake City. Correct. It also involved Alaska State Troopers. Correct. It involved Fairbanks Police Department. It did, yes. And I believe I may be incorrect about the actual arrest, but there were law enforcement officers from UAF involved. I believe the Fairbanks SWAT team may have some UAF members on it, but I don't know if UAF was involved in the actual other arrests that were made that day or not. I don't know. They were involved in the investigation. Is it fair to say? Again, I would not be able to even know if they were involved in the investigation or not. Okay, what about North Pole Police? Again, I would not be able to answer that. Okay, and this arrest involved a number of debriefings and meetings between the agents, with me, with you. I'm sorry. You were running the team, right? The SWAT team, so I conducted some meetings, yes. Okay, and in fact, there was what you call the staging. What do you mean by, I'm sorry, I don't understand. Well, when you're getting, I want to make sure I understand, I answer the question. Sure. When you're planning to make the arrest and you're trying to figure out where everybody's going to be positioned, do you have a meeting that's referred to as staging? Staging is different than, I think we might be talking about two different things. When we stage, that means we're ready to, we stage people in certain areas, and that's our staging point. And then from there we go to our execution point. We don't call a staging meeting. We don't have any, at least our team does not. Okay, so you don't have like a rehearsal. We have rehearsals depending on the type of scenario that we're doing, yes. Did you have a rehearsal for this particular arrest? We had been doing this kind of arrest for the month prior, and so we had some training then. And I believe we had a number of what you would call rehearsals on this particular scenario, maybe a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, a month prior, something like that. I don't recall. I could have been a couple of days prior. I don't recall at this time, sorry. Okay, now, when we're talking about the staging, when everybody's in place kind of ready to go, right? Am I using that term correctly? That would be correct, yeah. Okay, so you're testified on direct that you were in the second car of a 3-car group. Indiscernible, we will call it, yeah. Okay, how many people were in each car? I believe there was 2 in each car, and you were the passenger, correct? So that's 6 people, and these are members of the SWAT team? Okay, I'm going to stop on page 61. That's 61. Okay, and then there were also people in the, for lack of a better term, the snow machine trailer? Yes. Okay, and how many people were in there? 3. Okay, and there were other law enforcement officers in the van? There were 2 in that van, yes. Okay, and in addition to all those people, there were other law enforcement officers on the perimeter? That is correct. Do you recall approximately how many law enforcement officers were on the perimeter? I would say 4 to 6. Okay. Now, you discussed with Mr. Dooley a little bit about your uniform. Now, members of the SWAT team would have had on bulletproof garments. Yeah, bulletproof vests along with the ceramic plates. Okay, raid jackets? We do not wear raid jackets, no. Okay, now for this, you developed something called an operational plan. Is that correct? That would be correct. And that's a document written by you? That is correct. Do you recall in the operational plan under the heading Administration and Equipment describing what type of equipment the officers should have? I don't at this moment know. If I can refresh my memory, but I don't recall what I wrote back then, no. Okay, Ms. Hayden, Your Honor, may I refresh the witness? Certainly. Memory, thank you. Okay, sir, have you had sufficient opportunity to refresh your recollection with your report? I have. Okay, could I ask you again about the types of equipment that the agents were suggested to wear, including raid jackets? Again, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't read it, but I think it said raid jackets, bulletproof vest, duty weapon. I'm sure there's some other stuff on there, and I just looked at it, but I can't recall exactly what else it said. Would it be helpful if I just left it up there with you? If that's absolutely, that'd be fine. So the operation plan did include raid jackets. It states raid jacket, correct? Okay, it states raid jacket, correct. Okay, can you tell the jury what a raid jacket is? There's different definitions of what a raid jacket could be. A raid jacket, I think in a general term, would be a jacket that's a very, very thin jacket. Some of us have them, some of us don't. It states has FBI written on the front and the back. It's kind of a jacket that you put over the rest of your stuff. It covers the bulletproof vest. It would act just like a regular jacket. It would cover all the stuff that's underneath. Okay, did some of the agents wear helmets? That is one of the criteria when you're doing a SWAT arrest, is that you wear your ballistic helmet. And I assume that all of the agents were armed. I would assume also yes. What type of weapons were they carrying? They should have their handgun, which depending on the type of gun would either have Glocks or Springfields, and then there would have been their long gun. Some may have not had a long gun depending on their particular role, and I don't recall exactly, but if they had a long gun, it would have been a 223. Okay, can you describe what a 223 looks like? I always describe it as an M16 like you see in Vietnam, like you see in Iraq and Afghanistan with what our soldiers carry. It's the same caliber round. They are different manufacturers. There's Colt, there's Rock River. The FBI tends to usually go with Colt or Rock River. Again, just manufacturers like Ford and GM. They all make the same thing, it's just different manufacturing. So a layperson might refer to it as an assault rifle. That'd be a fair assessment, yes. It's kind of, for lack of a better term, forgive me if I know nothing about firearms, but the banana clip looking thing. We have a 30-round capacity clip that goes into a 223 weapon. Okay. Now, as part of the operational plan, you were prepared for a number of things to happen. For instance, if any of the people being arrested tried to run away on foot, you had a plan for that? Answer, we had the people on the perimeter. I would hope that was part of their duties. If somebody were able to get away, we may or may not able to obtain that person, get him in custody. There were plans and scenarios that we were running through on everything that we could maybe think that would come up. For instance, if someone tried to get away in a vehicle, correct, yes, we had taken that into consideration. We did. Okay, now, you spoke a little bit on direct about a distraction device, yes. Okay, and I believe you explained that's something that you use that makes a loud noise and a flash of light to draw someone's attention away from perhaps the agents who are coming in to do the arrest. That is correct. Okay, is that sometimes referred to as a flashbang? That would be the general term that they use in law enforcement is a flashbang, yes. And a flashbang is a type of grenade that doesn't explode but makes a big flash of light and the noise. I would not call it a grenade because they are completely different. But it does make a loud noise and a bright light, a bright flash. Okay, it's something that you throw, correct? It's something that you throw, correct? Okay, there's also a type of grenade or device that's called a smoke bomb. Yes. Okay, and there are some people call those smoke grenades. They may or may not. It's something that the FBI normally does not get into. Okay, now when Mr. Vernon was arrested, you testified on direct that he had 2 firearms? I did at that time, yes. Okay, and those were on his person? Again, I don't know. I was not the person who obtained the weapons from him. Okay, and I believe we saw a picture with 3 clips. I believe, yes, that's correct. I believe that was Exhibit 112, and if you would like to take a look at the exhibit book, it's already been admitted. Yeah, 112 had the weapon with 3 clips next to it. Okay, is it fair to say that the 3 clips that are pictured with those that were weapon with clips that go in that weapon, or do you know? With not having it in front of me, I can't tell you if they go in, if they fit in there, if they seat in there or not. I'm assuming they would be. But again, without having it in front of me, I can't give you a 100% definition or, an answer. And again, because you weren't the actual person doing the arrest of Mr. Vernon, you don't know where those clips were. That'd be correct. Who did the actual arrest of Mr. Vernon? I believe it was Agent Gaston. Now, Mr. Vernon didn't have on a bulletproof vest, isn't that correct? As far as I'm aware, no, he did not. And when he was arrested, the .22 caliber pistol that had been given, that was in the car with the confidential informant, was still in the car. Is that correct? I believe so. But again, I was not arresting. I did not go up there. But I believe looking through some of the pictures and stuff that we did today, I would say that it was still in the car. Yes. Okay. Was that the .22 pistol operational? May I look at the exhibit? Certainly. Do you know which one it was? Which number? I believe it was 102, but 102. No, it was not. When in arresting Mr. Vernon, was there 1 distraction device or 2 use? I believe the plan called for 1, and I believe only 1 was thrown. How many is it? Is it fair to say that there was a good number of agents that rushed toward the car after the flashbang went off? Yes, that would be correct. And on direct, you testified that Mr. Vernon was arrested without incident. As far as I'm aware, yes. Okay, so he didn't try to run? No, not that I'm aware of. He didn't try to get in his car and drive away? No, not that I'm aware of. He didn't reach for any of his firearms? I cannot answer that question because I was not right there when he was taken out of the vehicle, so I would not be able to answer that. Is that another question for Special Agent Gaston? I'm not sure. Okay. Who would it be for but Special Agent Gaston? Maybe one that could be asked. Is it fair to say that if someone who the SWAT team is arresting has a weapon, that would be something that you would want everybody on the SWAT team to know? In other words, if somebody reached for a weapon, would there be a verbal warning to everybody else on the SWAT team? There may or may not be. It all depends. Now, Mr. Vernon didn't make any threatening moves that you know of. Not that anybody passed on to me, no. He didn't raise his fist to anybody that you know. Again, not that I'm aware of. Didn't try to fight anybody, not that I'm aware of. Didn't struggle. Again, not that I'm aware of. The arrest went off without incident. I'd say it went according to plan, yes. Miss Hayden, if I may have one moment, Your Honor. No more questions, Your Honor. Mr. Scrocky, thank you. Redirect examination by Mr. Scrocky. Agent Thoreson, you were shown an exhibit by Mr. Dooley in Exhibit 91 with that grenade. Yes, remember seeing that? I do. And on the direct, I asked you a question about one of those grenades, that it was misplaced. Yes, and one of those 4 grenades, could you describe in a little more detail about the misplacement of that? I was advised by another SWAT team member that when they were trying to find the grenades in the vehicle, that they could not locate it at that time. They knew it was in the vehicle. They just couldn't locate it to get it to remove it from the vehicle. About how much time transpired between the time of you noticing it and it was located? From what I was told, when it was located, seconds, not minutes, had gone by. It could have been 30 seconds. It could have been 60 seconds. We were not talking a lot of time. You were asked by Ms. Hayden a number of questions about Mr. Vernon's reaction to the arrest. Do you recall those about? I do. What he did or what he didn't do, I do. You were asked a question by Mr. Dooley about Mr. Barney and Mr. Cox did or did not do. Yes, I remember. With those questions in mind, why do you bring more agents to an arresting than there were people to be arrested? You go with force and power, so we try not to allow a person to be arrested to have an opportunity to resist, to pull a gun, whatnot. We do everything we can so they do not have the opportunity. And in terms of, I'll just use the word execution of the arrest, why do you rank the speed of that in that way? In what way? Once you guys got to go slow, medium, as fast and as safe as we can, would you call it dynamic? In this particular arrest, it would be classified as dynamic, yes. As a SWAT team leader with respect to Mr. Vernon and the use of the flashbang, why was that chosen? It's another tool that we have when you're coming up into a room or into a vehicle, especially inside a vehicle. All you can see, and again I'm going to show it with my hands, is sometimes from the midway up to their head. Normally you cannot see their hands, especially in this particular. Usually when we arrest somebody, the door's closed. We have no clue what they're holding onto. They could have a gun in their hand or whatnot. We don't know. So it's another tool that we use. So instead of them looking at us, coming at them where they might have an additional second or two. And a second doesn't seem like a lot of time, but it's a tremendous amount of time to be able to do something. Okay, page 72 I'll pick up in a little bit. And the second doesn't seem like a lot of time, but it's a tremendous amount of time to be able to do something. When you throw that, they may delay their reaction for half a second. That gets a half a second closer to be able to make the arrest. And finally, I want to clear up or try to clear up one thing over the break. You had occasion to revisit the arrest of Lonnie Vernon and Karen Vernon, that's correct. And you testified before the break with respect to the firearms that were found upon the Vernons at their arrest. I did. Do you have something else you want to add to that testimony that you've already given? I had misspoken. Only one of the weapons was found on Mr. Vernon. The other one was found on his wife. Okay, so the other one was what? Found on his spouse? So one on each? So one each? Correct. Scrocky, that's all I have for Agent Thoreson. The court, thank you, Agent Thoreson. You may be excused. The court, if you'll face out into the courtroom, raise your hand and be sworn. Kevin McDaniel, plaintiff's witness, sworn. The witness, I do. Thank you. Please be seated. Let me ask you to speak right into the mic. Direct examination. Mr. Scrocky, Agent McDaniel, could you please give your name and spell it for the record, please? Kevin McDaniel, K-I-V-I-N-M-C-D-A-N-I-E-L. So you're a special agent with the FBI? Yes, sir. How long have you held that position? Since April of 2010? Okay. And for that period of time, where has been your duty station? Here in Anchorage? Prior to that, what did you do? Prior to that, I was an infantry officer in the Army of the 501st Airborne here in Anchorage. Okay. Fort Rich, a jumper, yes, a paratrooper. If I could turn your attention to March 10th of 2011, were you working for the FBI that day in Fairbanks? Yes, I was. And did you have a specific assignment, and if so, what was it? Yes, I did. I was assigned to the SWAT team for the arrest, an arrest that took place that day, and specifically I was inside a trailer, kind of like a U-Haul trailer, along with 2 other special agents. What would they have been? Dan Gaston and Brian Coyle, or all 3 of you agents that you just mentioned, Mr. Gaston, Mr. Agent Coyle, and yourself, and members of Anchorage SWAT team? Yes. If you could tell the jury with respect to this trailer, you mentioned where in the location of the arrest scenario it was placed and why you were there. The trailer was off to what we expected to be the passenger side of the vehicle and subject's vehicle. I don't recall exactly what cardinal direction that was for the layout, but if the vehicle was nosed into the parking lot as we expected it to be, the trailer was maybe 20 yards off to the right-hand side of the vehicle. The trailer was parked perpendicular to the vehicle so that the barn doors on the back side of the trailer opened away from the subject vehicle. That was an additional door on the trailer that opened, and on the side of the trailer that opened to the front of the vehicle, the subject vehicle was facing towards the same direction. Okay, so the point being, you folks could exit without the people in the vehicle seeing you. We could. Okay, and what type of communication did you have with the other agents while you were in this trailer? There's no windows in the trailer, so we relied on our radios. Each of us, all 3 of us, who had a radio. So that was our means of communication. Okay, with respect to the arrest do you remember Lonnie Vernon? Do you recall him? Yes. And his wife Karen? Yes. Okay, with respect to the arrest, do you participate in that in any way? Yes, I did. In what way? That was the first arrest of the day, and the plan was the same for both arrests. Myself and the other guys in the trailer were to exit the trailer and approach the vehicle from the passenger side and effect the arrest of whatever subjects happened to be closest to us on the passenger side of the vehicle. And at some point, was it your understanding that it would receive communication as to when to move for the arrest? Yes, we were receiving updates over the radio as to how the conversation inside the vehicle was progressing. And at some point, the person driving the updates would give us the command to execute the arrest plan, at which point we would exit the trailer. And did you get to the command? And did you get that command at some point in the morning? Yes. And when you left the trailer, did you have something in your hand? I did. In the first arrest of the Vernons, my specific role was to toss a flashbang over the hood of the car and the hood of Mr. Olson's car. Okay, did you do that? I did. Did you recall when you did that about our orientation of the passengers in Mr. Olson's vehicle? Yeah, as I recall, Mr. Olson was in the driver's seat, Lonnie Vernon was in the passenger seat, and Miss Vernon was in the rear seat. When you threw the flashbang, could you tell the jury where it went and what it did? The flashbang went over the hood of Mr. Olson's vehicle, and it detonated probably, I'm guessing, 18 inches off the ground. Just the driver's side of the vehicle, front driver's side of the vehicle. Okay, and did you see the reaction on Mr. Olson's or anybody in the car, Mr. Vernon, about that? Mr. Olson, I don't recall seeing, must have been out of the vehicle pretty quick and on the ground. Mr. Vernon, I believe he was looking at me. The flashbang didn't seem to have intended the effect of drawing attention toward it. As I recall, he was looking at us as we were approaching. Did he offer any resistance at all? No resistance. Of course. Okay. How about Miss Vernon too, that you were able to observe? I didn't recall looking at her much, but as I recall, nobody gave any resistance. Okay. So you approached the vehicle. What happened next with respect to the arrest of Mr. Vernon? As we approached the vehicle, and Mr. Vernon, as I said, he was looking at us. He seemed kind of disoriented, and we were given instructions, put your hands where we can see them. And as I recall, Dan Gaston opened the passenger side door and pulled Mr. Vernon out, and then we proceeded to do high-risk search of him there beside the car. When you say high-risk search, yeah, what do you mean by high-risk search? A high-risk search is something that we do, immediately upon the arrest, which is generally a search of the area, one hand above and one below the belt line where weapons are normally concealed. So we're not searching the entire person head to toe. We're just trying to get him under arrest, get him in cuffs, but we want to make sure they don't have any weapons on them, and so we search that area. And then we would hand off, in that instance, we handed Mr. Vernon off to the U.S. Marshals. We do a more thorough search before transport. With respect to Mr. Vernon, did you actually have any contact with him at all yourself? I did. I was standing next to him, yeah. Okay, I meant physical contact. Oh, physical contact. No, I didn't. All right. And who would have that been? Agent Dan Gaston. Did you observe Agent Gaston removing something from Mr. Vernon? Yeah, I think he removed a few items. but I notably recall him moving a .45 caliber pistol. Why do you recall that? It was in a shoulder holster, and you know weapons are something we look for at first, so that stuck out to me. When you said a couple of seconds ago that Mr. Vernon seemed disoriented, is that the word that you used? Yeah, a little bit. Can you explain why you observed that? Why that sticks in your memory? He seemed like he didn't know what was going on. I recall him asking something to the effect of, "What's going on? What's happening?" You know, as we were giving him the instructions to get out of the car and put his hands where we could see them. He wasn't being non-compliant, but he just seemed not to understand what was happening. Okay, otherwise, seemed oriented as to time and place, yeah. Okay. You mentioned that Mr. Vernon was given to the custody of the marshals, yeah. Is that accurate? Did you have occasion to participate in an arrest later on after that? I did. With who? I'm sorry, who were the people that were involved in the arrest? Coleman, Barney, and Schaefer Cox? Okay, at the same general plan as before it was the exact same plan, just a rinse and repeat of the first one. All right, and you were the trailer again, if I'm correct? Yeah, I was. Only this time it was just myself and Dan Gaston, because Brian Coy and Agent Brendan Morris had to go to a search of a house somewhere else. Okay, while you were in the trailer, what kind of communication did you have with the other agents outside of the trailer? Same as before, we had the radios. Dan and I both had a radio. We were receiving. The plan was to receive updates again, as in the first instance. How did those radios work on this occasion? They didn't work well. They worked initially. I think we heard maybe the vehicle come in, but then at some point we stopped hearing anything over the radio for quite a period of time, and I tried to reach to the person who was giving the updates over the radio and got no response. At some point, given that radio silence, at some point, did you leave the trailer? Yes. Under what circumstances? Well, like I said, I don't recall the exact amount of time that had passed that we had heard from anyone on the radio, but eventually we heard almost simultaneously, we heard voices saying, "FBI, get up your hands," as well as we heard compromise, come over the radio. Okay, pretty much in time, or close in time. Yes, yeah. Okay, that was triggered in response from you. When you heard the word, or actually let him rephrase that, what caused you to leave the trailer? When we heard compromise, that's when we left the trailer. That the word compromise to us signifies something had gone wrong with the plan, not that we had planned for, which caused us to accelerate the timing and execution of the plan. Okay, so you left the trailer? We left the trailer. And when you left the trailer, in terms of vehicle, personnel, and people, what did you see? I recall seeing that there was a vehicle that I hadn't planned on seeing that was parked between Mr. Olson's vehicle and our trailer, and then there was an individual standing up outside that vehicle, between the vehicle and Mr. Olson's vehicle, who I did not recognize. Do you have a memory of who was in the vehicle and the truck? In Mr. Olson's truck? Yeah, I recall Mr. Olson was again in the driver's seat, Coleman Barney was in the front passenger seat, and Mr. Cox was in the back seat. So Mr. Barney in the front seat and Mr. Cox in the back seat, Mr. Olson in the driving position, yeah. And there were individuals that you mentioned who had shown up. He was standing up outside the passenger side of Mr. Olson's truck, the passenger side, front or back? Front. And did you effectuate the rest of an arrest on which one of the defendants, Mr. Barney? Okay, do you see Mr. Barney here in court today? Yes, I do. Okay, where is he seated? Right there. Okay, did you have an occasion to contact with him? Yes. And were items taken off his person? Yes. And in general, before we get any further, what items did you take off him? I remember he had 2 pistols, a wallet, a phone, maybe some miscellaneous items in the pockets. Okay, Mr. Scrocky, Agent Sutherland, could we have 75? Do you recognize the bag and the shape that it's in? Agent, yes. McDaniel, yes. And how do you recognize it? I saw it the other day. Okay, there's a tag on there. Yeah, Government Exhibit 83, and you examined the contents of it? Yeah. Okay, what are the contents? It's body armor that was being worn by Mr. Barney at the time. We would offer 83, no objection by anybody. 83 may be admitted. Could you take that out of the bag for us? Sure, Agent Daniel, can you stand up and hold that up for us so that we can take a look at it? Is it heavy? No, it's not heavy. Okay, what's that? Are you familiar with body armor? Yes. Do you have to wear that as a SWAT team member? I do. Okay, can you sit down for us, please? Okay, in that item, I thought I heard something clinking. Yeah, what would that be? There's a kind of metal plate in here in addition to the Kevlar material. And you removed that from who, Mr. Barney? Agent Sutherland, could I have Exhibits 80 through 82? Do you have 80, 81? I do. If you could look at the outside of those envelopes, there's a white piece of paper there. Do you see those? What are those? What information is on those white piece of paper? That's a description of the contents. Are you familiar with each of those 3, 80, 81, 82? Yeah, I am. Have you examined those contents before coming into the court today? I have. And with respect to arrested Mr. Barney, did you remove firearms from him? Yeah, I did. Are those the firearms in those exhibits, plaintiff's exhibits 80 through 82 identified? Yeah, okay. Move offer 80 through 82, no objection from anyone. They have been admitted. I think he said 80, 82, Judge. Oh, It'd be exhibits 80, 81, 82. The court, all right. Any objection to any of those? No from everybody. The court, all right. All three exhibits may be admitted, 80 through 81, 82. Mr. Scrocky, okay. If I may approach the witness for a moment, by Mr. Scrocky. Let's start with 82 if we could. Okay. Do you have there in front of you? I do. Can you describe what's in that, the envelope, and examine its contents, please? It's a few magazines of ammunition. Okay, all right. And those corresponding to something. Yeah, there are from a .40 caliber Glock pistol. This from a Rutger 380 pistol. All right. If you can put those back in the envelope and seal it up for me, you can just put that on the floor. That's fine. Does that correspond to the firearms that are in the 80 and 81? Yeah. Okay, so those are two pistols, yeah. And the caliber of each pistol, the Glock is a .40 caliber pistol, and the Rutger is a .380 caliber. Okay, with respect to Glock, do you have a memory about where they came from off of Mr. Barney's person? Yeah, the Glock came from around his waist area. Okay. How about the Ruger? Do you have a recollection about that? I don't recall exactly where it was. It was either on his ankle or traditionally in the waist area. Or additionally in the waist area. Okay, thank you. Scrocky, could I have Exhibit 79 and 97, Agent Sutherland? If you could take 80 and 81 back with you. Now, Agent McDaniel, are you looking at the seizure tags or the inventory documents on the outside of those envelopes? Yes. Do you recognize the contents? Yes. And with respect to 79, you examined those before coming into court today? Yes. Observed them on the day of the arrest? Yes. And the same would hold true for 97? Yes. Okay, and 97 is a telephone, correct, or a phone? Plaintiff's Exhibit 97 identified a cell phone? Yes. Scrocky, we'd offer 79 and 97, no objection from anyone. They may be admitted. If you could go to 79 for us, recognize that in 79, yes, it's a wallet and Alaska Peacemaker pin. How do you know it's an Alaska Peacemaker's pin? APM, the letters APM denote the Alaska Peacemakers Militia. All right, and there's a wallet you recognize coming off of Mr. Barney, yeah. There's some other items that are attached to that exhibit. There was a yellow piece of paper I believe I saw, and maybe it's still in the envelope. Okay, with respect to the green document I can see from here, can you hold up for the jury just briefly, and is there some writing on that? There is. Can you read what that says? It says, thank you for helping on this field trip. I would like you to talk with the students about the ice sculptures as you look at them. Keep your group with you at all times. We will meet back at the exit of the ice park at 11:45. Please be on time. Okay, is there anything written on the other side of that green piece of paper? There is. It says Carter's dad, and underneath it says Carter Trixie Christie. Okay, do you recall where you removed that document from? The document came from one of Mr. Coleman's pockets. I don't recall exactly which pocket. Okay, and there's another white piece of paper that is attached to that exhibit, yes, and what does that reflect? The document must have been inside the wallet. I don't recall seeing that document at the time of the arrest. Okay, and there's some information on there? There is. Some phone numbers, yes. Names of the people on the list. There are some names. What are they? Flap, Cap, Zap, Gamp, Cap, Sap, Zap. Okay, can you turn that over? There's some other information on the other side. No. Okay, Scrocky, if I might approach. So, you've got those names there you were referencing, but there's other information alongside of it too, isn't there? Correct? Okay, just read each one going from left to right all the way down the list. Okay, Flap. Parenthesis next to that is yellow, and there's some phone number, 978-3874. Underneath that is Cap, also in parenthesis yellow, and a phone number, 347-8531. Underneath that is Zap, also in parenthesis is the word yellow. The phone number is 854-2575, and then below that is the word Gramp. In parenthesis red, and the number is 78. Under that, Cap is parenthesis red, number 62. Under that is Sap, parenthesis red, number 72. And last is Zap, in parenthesis red, 85. Okay, side conversing by Mr. Scrocky. Do you have that on your screen, Mr. Agent McDaniel? Yes, I do. Do you see Exhibit 79? Yes. All right. Is that the information you just read? Yes, it is. Scrocky. Okay, offer Exhibit 79 for publishing. No objection for anybody. If that's the part of the exhibit already admitted, it may be published. Scrocky. All right. Thank you. It's an additional photo of who's in front of them, I guess, is what it is, but I understand. Okay, Denali, if you could dim the lights briefly. Agent McDaniel, up on the screen we have Exhibit 79. We've enlarged part of the exhibit. Is that what you just read into the record for the jury? Yes, it is. Do you have any idea what any of this what I've highlighted here off to the left that these names mean? I have no idea. Do you have any idea what the colors in the middle part of that mean? No idea. How about here on the right-hand side, and I've circled the number 7862, etc. Scrocky, thank you. No, Scrocky, thank you. Do you have any Exhibit 97 in front of you? Yes, I do. And if you could examine the evidence tag there, it's a Samsung cell phone. Yes, do you have the independent recollection of that Samsung cell phone? I do. I recall taking that out of Mr. Barney's pocket. I've examined it before coming into court today. Yes. Okay. Offer 97, Your Honor. No objection from anybody. It may be admitted. Scrocky. Okay. If you could take it out of the envelope to show the jury, please describe what you're holding in your hand and where you got it from. It's a Samsung Flip cell phone. I got this out of Mr. Barney's pockets. On the back of the phone, there's looks like a piece of yellow loose leaf paper that's taped to it. Could you hold that up so they can see it? Yeah, it has the word red underlined and what looks like pink highlighter and then a phone number. What's the phone number? The phone number is area code 907-268-9274. Agent McDaniel, with respect to that phone, do you see anything that corresponds to the back of the phone to the list that shows that you saw in 79 just in terms of association? Yeah, and it has red on here, which corresponds to the sum of the names or code words of this piece of loose paper. So the word red is on the note and on the phone? Right, correct. The phone numbers correspond. Not that I see the phone number that's on the back of this phone or this piece of loose leaf. I don't see the phone number that's on the back of this phone or this piece of loose leaf. Okay, that's all that I have for this agent. Thank you. All right. Mr. Traverso, cross-examination by Mr. Traverso. Good afternoon, sir. How long before the rest of the Vernons did you set up? How long before the arrest of the Vernons did you set up at the trailer? Inside the trailer, yes, 30 minutes maybe. How long you weren't involved with Mr. Cox's arrest at all? I was. I just did not personally place handcuffs on Mr. Cox or search him. He was in the same vehicle as Mr. Barney. Okay. So in that respect, I was involved in the arrest. Now, what was your understanding of the place where this place where your U-Haul trailer or trailer was going to be? As far as the layout, yes, it was somewhat of a narrow but not a long lane, at the back of which was several semi-truck trailers, along with one parked on the side, and there was a snow mound, as I recall, behind our trailer and U-Haul trailer, and there was a kind of, like a gap in which we figured that's where Mr. Olson's vehicle would park. So there were several semi-tractor trailers there. There was. Okay. And is this the place where you can get gas? It was. Okay, do you remember if there was one truck that was running, a trailer truck that was idling? I do not recall. Okay, Mr. Traverso, I have no further questions. Thank you, sir. Mr. Dooley. Agent, I'm Tim Dooley for Coleman Barney. Did you have anything to do with the arranging for a tractor truck to be at the site? I did not. Okay. The weapons you took off Mr. Barney, the Ruger 380 is a legal weapon to have, correct? Sure. And he could carry it on his person legally, correct? Sure. And it could even be concealed under Alaska law, correct? In the state, yes. And the Glock 40 millimeter was also legal, correct? Yes. And he could carry that on him, correct? Yes. And he could legally conceal it in Alaska, correct? Yes. And the same thing, the 3 magazines of ammo, those were legal, correct? None of these cop killer bullets or anything like that in there? No. The body armor is also legal to wear in Alaska. I'm sorry? The body armor that you were showing us, the Kevlar, yes, sir, that's also legal to have and to wear. Yes, sir. All right. Mr. Dooley, thank you very much. No questions, Your Honor. All right. Nothing further than all right. Thank you. You may be excused. Agent McDaniel, thanks. Scrocky. We'll call Agent Kirk Oberlander. The court, it's about time we took a break. Let's take a break before we start the next witness. Folks, you may be excused. We'll take 10 minutes or so. All right. This matter stands in recess for 10 minutes. The clerk, all right. His Honor, the court, this United States District Court is again in session. Please be seated. A couple of quick things, Mr. Lamoureux. You can take these if you need them at the end of the day to do that. I'm something of a traditionalist. The admission of exhibits does not require motion. Typically you offer, or at least historically you offer an exhibit. It doesn't matter a lot. Expect my preferences the way I've always done it, which is to offer exhibits. I also wanted you to know that I don't want to cut somebody off in mid-stride without warning, but I don't really like the questions that begins, is it fair to say? Because that is just a lawyer trying to put the spin on the testimony, and it's just better to ask if it's true. We're looking for the truth, I hope. Also, when the lawyer says, I want to understand this more, that's not relevant to your understanding. You want the jury to understand it perhaps more. But when you start out with a question about yourself that you want to understand something or you don't want to understand something, yet that's inserting something into the case that doesn't belong there. And the last thing on my little personal list is questions that begin with, would you agree with me that? Because whether a witness agrees with a lawyer is not relevant to the case, and it inserts your own view into the question, which is not appropriate. So I don't want to cut you short or on stuff, and it thus far has not been certainly anything serious. But those are my idiosyncrasies, and I thought you might like to be aware of. Okay, and this is our next witness, I guess. Scrocky, yes, sir. The court, you can bring the jury in, and you can take the witness in. Let me ask you to face out into the courtroom. You're sworn. After the jury comes in, okay, please be seated, and we have our next witness here. If you'll raise your right hand and be sworn. Plaintiff's witness, the witness I do, thank you, please be seated. Direct examination by Mr. Scrocky. Sir, could you please state your name for the record? Spell it for us. Kirk Oberlander. Mr. Oberlander, who's your employee? The Federal Bureau of Investigation. And do you have a title with the FBI? Yes, I'm a special agent. Okay, Special Agent Oberlander, let me turn your attention to the March 10th, 2011. Were you working for the FBI in Fairbanks on that day? Yes, sir. In what capacity were you doing? What were you doing? I was a member of the SWAT team, and if you could summarize in essence for the jury here what your roles and responsibilities were for that day. Okay, I was the driver in one of the SWAT vehicles for the arrest of Coleman Barney, Shaper Cox, Karen Vernon, and Lonnie Vernon. Okay, and with respect to the arrest scenario, where were you located proximity-wise? Okay, prior to the arrest, we were stationed kind of off in an off-site area in close proximity, but not in the immediate vicinity. As the subject showed up to the scene, we came closer. A couple of vehicles came closer to the SWAT members and set up for an immediate takedown when we received the signal. Okay, did you participate in the arrest of Lonnie or Karen Vernon on that day? I did. Which one? Karen Vernon. Yes. Okay, if you could give the jury information about what happened with respect to her arrest, what you observed just from an arrest point. Okay, perspective. After we made our approach to the vehicles, Karen Vernon was sitting back in the back of the vehicle. Mr. Vernon was in the front seat, front passenger seat. We approached the vehicle. Miss Vernon seemed kind of dazed and non-responsive. I opened the door to the passenger rear of the vehicle and told her to put her hands on her head and had her get out of the vehicle. I escorted her away from the vehicle with her hands on my head. My hand was on top of her hands. We backed away from the vehicle to behind one of our vehicles. I then asked her if she had any weapons on her. She said something to the effect that she had a pistol on her right hip. I then disarmed her, took her holster. I took the holster and the weapon off her hip. I handed it back to one of my team members, Scrocky. Agent Sutherland, could you approach Agent Oberlander with Exhibits 106, 107, please? And Agent Oberlander, without talking about the contents of these two exhibits, could you look at it 106, 107 for us and see if you recognize those items? Yes, I recognize them. Okay, let's go to 106 first and put it down for me. Oh, sorry. Thank you. With respect to that item, is that one of the items you removed? It from Karen Vernon on the March 10th, 2011. It seems consistent with the type of weapon I took off. Can't say exactly that it is the weapon, but it appears to be. Again, it was the holster when I took it off her person. Okay, and I handed it back. And for the record, there's a firearm there. It's secured with a Ziploc. Correct? Yes, correct. Let me have you turn to 107. Would you like me to take it out, or if you could just look at it in the bag before we publish it, please? Okay, does that seem familiar to you as well? Yes. How so? From when I took off her, I was a brown leather type holster that had a pistol inside that had a clip that clipped onto her belt, and I was able to remove it without loosening or removing the belt. Do you recall doing that? Yes, and that's consistent with what's in 107? Yes. Okay. Scrocky, we offer 106, 107, no objection from anybody. 106, 107 admitted. Now, can you pull the item out of the bag? I believe the pistol is ziplocked in the bag, correct? Say again, the pistol is ziplocked to the box. Yes, okay. Rubber banded, yes? All right. And you removed a couple of items out of the bag. Those are what? Those are a lone round of magazines with 8 rounds in it? Okay, with respect to the holster and the pistol, do they match up? Yes, that's a notch cut out of the thumb break on the holster and appears to be modified from the manufacturer. The court, I'm sorry, the last juror over here can't see for the screen. Oh, I'm sorry, here on the holster, the thumb break, it has a cutout that is most post-manufacturer, and it appears to be a good fit to the laser that is on the grip of the pistol, a laser sight that's on the grip of the pistol. All right, if you could put those items back in place for us with respect to your contact with Miss Vernon, do you have an occasion to see anything else or in or around her person? Not at the immediate time. I was later made aware of some items in her purse. Okay, did you have occasion to see the purse itself in the vehicle when you arrested her? I don't remember. Okay, a lot of things going on that morning. Yes, okay. Scrocky, that's all I have for Agent Oberlander. No questions, no questions, no questions from anybody. Thank you. You may be excused. Thank you, sir. We call Agent Dan Gaston. If you come up to the stand, witness box, let me ask you to face the court and raise your right hand. Plaintiff, witness sworn. Yes, I do. Be seated. Direct examination, Scrocky. Sir, if you could say for your name, spell it for the record, Daniel Gaston. Okay, Mr. Gaston, what do you do for a living? I'm a special agent for the FBI. How long have you been with the FBI? 21 years. And Special Agent Gaston, your areas of responsibility current with the FBI are, I work violent crimes, I'm a bomb tech, and with the SWAT team. You're a SWAT team member? Yeah, I am. And how long have you been with the Alaska Field Office, the Anchorage Field Office? Almost 2 years. 2 years with respect to being a SWAT team member. How long have you held the position in your career? I've been a SWAT team member since 1993. Have you held any other kind of collateral duties with the FBI in terms of type of activity? Yeah, I was on a hostage rescue team for 6 years, from 96 to 2002. Okay, and in Alaska for the last 2 years, correct? Correct. And if I could have you turn your attention to the March 10th of 2011, okay? Did you have an assignment that day with a SWAT team in Fairbanks? Yes, I did. What was your assignment on that day? I was in a trailer, and our assignment was upon, command to execute, and we were to come out of the trailer and arrest the defendants. And who would they have been? They would have been Lonnie Vernon and Karen Vernon. Okay, anybody else? Yes, Coleman, Barney, and Schaefer Cox. Okay. With respect to the Vernon arrest, yes. Did that one occur first? Yes, it did. Where were you positioned prior to the arrest? We were in the trailer awaiting the command to come out. Who was in the trailer with you? Agent McDaniel and Agent Coy. What was your assignment with respect to when you left the trailer? What were you going to do next? We were going to approach the vehicle where a transaction was to take place and place them under arrest. And did that happen? Yes, it did. With respect to when you left the trailer, could you tell the jury what you observed and what you saw when you did leave the trailer? And when we left the trailer, I saw an F-150 pickup truck in front. In the front seat, I saw Lonnie Vernon, and in the back seat, I saw his wife, Karen. Okay. And did you have an occasion to observe Mr. Vernon's demeanor as you approached the vehicle? Yes, I did. What was that? He immediately put up his hands in the air, and he was cooperative with our commands. Okay. And was he was taken into custody? Yes, he was. And who would that have been who did that? I placed him under arrest. So that was you? Yes. When you were effecting this arrest, how were you attired? I was in a normal SWAT gear, helmet, body armor, and M4 and a handgun, and you arrested Mr. Vernon. Did you put your hands on him, make contact with him? Yes, I did. In what way? I asked him to get out of the vehicle, and after we got him out of the vehicle, we put him up, put his hands in the vehicle, did a search, then we placed handcuffs on him. If you could describe for the jury what was his demeanor like, he was very cooperative. He didn't resist arrest. And upon arresting him, we found a Springfield .45 handgun, 2 magazines, his wallet, his keys, pocket knife, and I think that was it. Okay, Scrocky. If Agent Sutherland could present Exhibits 108, 109, Agent Gaston, if I could just have you look at those yourself and not display them to the jury, just examine the contents of them, Exhibit 108. Do you recognize that item? Yes, I do. Let's stop right there. Do you recall seeing that item on the day of the arrest of Mr. Vernon? Yes, I do. Is that the gun you took off Mr. Vernon? Yes, it is. And while you were at it, let's go to 109. Do you recall those items that day as well? Yes, I do. And in connection with the person of Lonnie Vernon, yes, it was. Scrocky offered Exhibits 108, 109. No objection from anybody. 108, 109 entered. Okay, Agent Gaston, if you could show the jury Exhibit 108. And what type of firearm is that? It's a Springfield 48XC. Okay, and that came off Mr. Vernon? Yes, it did. And then there is some magazines in relation to that as well. Yes, there is 3 magazines. Okay, do they all correspond to Exhibit 108, the 45 Springfield caliber? Yes, they do. Do you have any occasion to tally up the number of rounds in those 3 magazines? Yes, I did. Are you any good at math? I forgot. You're probably faster than me. It's 11, 11, 22, 9, so it's 32. 32. Dooley, 31. 31 in the round that was in the chamber. I'm sorry. You held up a spare round, yes. And you mentioned that it was found where? In the chamber of the weapon. So it was loaded? Yes. While you put those items back in the box. Thank you, Mr. Gaston. Could you pull up Exhibit 114, please? Agent Gaston, do you have a photograph in front of you on your screen marked Exhibit 114? Yeah, I do. Do you have a recollection of what it depicts? That is that Lonnie's handgun, the 45, has 3 magazines, and below Karen's, I think it was a 357 in her holster, and that photo was taken on what day? March 10th. All right, Scrocky, we offer Exhibit 114. No objection from anyone. 114 admitted. Published for that jury briefly. So, Agent Gaston, with respect to 114 depicts, I'm going to circle the firearm here. Do you see that? Yes, I do. Which one is that? Which firearm is that? That's the 45 belonging to Lonnie Vernon, and those magazines there? Those are 45 magazines belonging to this firearm that I'm encircling there above it. Yes, I'm circling those 2 items there. What are those 2 items? That's the 357 holster and goes with it. And the vehicle in question here is a Suburban. Yes, it is. Whose Suburban is that? That's a government vehicle, FBI Suburban. Thank you, Scrocky. Thank you, Denali. Can you present Exhibit 328? I'm sorry, 122. Excuse me, 122. If you just keep that down and look at it yourself, Agent Gaston, do you recognize that item? Yeah, I do. That was seized from who? Lonnie Vernon. And did he provide that to you? We seized it upon his arrest. Okay, and you recognize it as being Mr. Vernon's wallet? Yes, it is. Scrocky, we offer 122. Hayden, I'd like to examine it before Scrocky right there. Any objection to the exhibit? No from anyone. 122 admitted. Agent Gaston, there's a number of contents from the wallet in the exhibit, correct? Yes, there is. I flipped over there for you on the back. There's a piece of paper there with some phone numbers on it. Yes, do you see that? Yes, I do. There's some phone numbers there. Could you read off the numbers on that page, just the names of the individuals, the numbers? Les Serby, Jamie Schaefer Cox, Gary Brockman, Paul Harold, J.R. Olson, Scott Payton. Okay, that's sufficient. Agent Gaston, there's one business card there that we placed in association with the phone number card. Yes, that's a business name. That's a business name on there. Do you see that? Yes, the name of the business is what? Far North Tactical Surplus Survival and Self-Defense. Is there a city that's given? I didn't bring my glasses. Yes, Fairbanks, Alaska. Okay. That's all I have for Agent Gaston. No questions, no questions. Cross-examination by Miss Hayden. Agent Gaston, where on Mr. Vernon was the pistol located? The pistol was in his shoulder holster, and the 2 magazines were also in the shoulder holster. Thank you. Can I ask you to, within exhibit number 122, the contents of Lonnie Vernon's wallet, could I ask you to look at the driver's license there, and can you see it through the plastic? Yes, ma'am. Is there anything unusual about it? It's CDL, commercial driver's license. Other than that, anything unusual? Not that I noticed. Thank you. That's all I have. All right. May I approach? No questions. All right. Thank you. You may be excused. The witness, thank you. All right. If you'll come up, Agent Bartko, if you'll come up, stand in the witness stand, face the court, place your right hand and be sworn. Betsy Bartko, plaintiff's witness sworn, direct examination by Miss Lamoureux. Good afternoon. Hello. Could you please state for your name, record, and spell your last name? Sure, it's Betsy Bartko, B-A-R-T-K-O. And where do you work? I'm at the FBI here in Anchorage. How long have you been working? We've been working at the FBI in Anchorage. In Anchorage since I transferred here in November of 2008. And prior to that, where were you? I was in the Chicago field office. So how long have you been with the FBI? Just over 8 years. And what are your current duties and responsibilities? Right now, I work in cybercrimes primarily. What does that mean? That's a good question. Crimes related to the use of computers, either cybercrimes or sometimes national security cybercrimes. It's a pretty inclusive group. Turning now to March 10, 2011, do you have a role in this investigation? Yes, I did. And can you describe generally what your role was on that date? I was there as actually part of the crisis negotiation team if need be, so I was at the scene in the perimeter row basically waiting for if needed and then to assist with anything after an arrest. Okay, can we turn first to the arrest of Lonnie Vernon and Karen Vernon? Yes. Do you remember that part of the day? I do. Can you describe how you became involved? I became involved after the arrest was effected. We kind of came out of the perimeter, came into the scene, and I happened to be there. And as they were arrested, there was a lot of evidence that was there, and I happened to be there and took possession of the items at the time. Do you have previous experience with evidence response? Yes. While in Chicago, I was a member of the evidence response team, so I was familiar with how to collect evidence and what to do and general protocols of evidence collection. Can you describe generally what the evidence response team is? Sure. It's the team made up of specially trained. We attend a little bit more training than that. Let's say the average agent on how to collect evidence, how to treat it, the chain of custody. We learn some neat stuff like, how to cast the footprints and all the kind of, stuff that you may expect to see at a crime scene. So after the Vernons were arrested, then you had a certain assignment, I take it. Yeah. And at the time it was to collect the evidence that was seized directly off them. Okay, from Karen Vernon, what was seized from her? I specifically took a purse, and in the action, let me stop you there. Okay, with the purse. Okay, let me go ahead and have us turn what we marked for identification exhibit 115, which is a photo, plaintiff's exhibit 115. Lamoureux, we could either bring it up on the screen or witness. Okay, go ahead and that'd be great. Lamoureux, okay, 115, yes. Do you recognize that photo? Yes, I do. How do you recognize it? That was the purse I took into evidence. Did you take that photo? I did. Can you please look at exhibits 116 and 117? Did you take those photos as well? I did. At that time, Your Honor, the government would like to offer into evidence 115 through 117. If I could have one moment, Your Honor, from Miss Hayden. Yeah. No objection to the photographs. No objections from anybody. All right. 115, 116, 117 is admitted. Can you please publish exhibit 115 for the jury? Thank you, Denali. By Ms. Lamoureux. Can you describe what's shown in this photo here? It was the contents of her purse as it was left on the seat of the car from the inside. I can see a plastic bag, a pack of gum, and what appears to be a grenade of some kind of incendiary device. Okay, let's move to exhibit 116. What's that photo show? The same thing, just a little bit more close. And how many devices are in the purse? I see 2 there. Okay, let's move to exhibit 117. What do you see there? The purse again with the devices kind of broken down. So they weren't like that in the purse, right? No, right. Okay, so did someone take those items out of the purse then? Yes, I believe it was. It was one of the SWAT members or PSIs that are authorized to deal with devices like that. Okay, what did you do with the purse? I took it back with me to the Fairbanks field office where we did an inventory of everything inside of it and then logged it into evidence. Okay, Miss Lamoureux, could we have the lights, please, Madam Clerk? And I'd like to show you what we've marked for identification at Exhibit 105. Thanks. Do you recognize, without saying what it is, do you recognize what that is? I do. And can you describe it, where it came from? Sure. Generally, that was the cash that was found in the same plastic bag inside the purse, Ms. Lamoureux, and at this time the government would offer into Exhibit 105. No objection from anybody. 105 admitted. If you could please describe the contents that are there, it's $340 in $20 bills. Can you just show that to the jury and hold it up? What else did you find inside Karen Vernon's purse? There were a number of items, some jewelry, some papers that pertain to the jewelry. I can't recall without looking that up, the evidence sheet that I would have written up. Let me go ahead and show you that we've marked this Exhibit 104. Okay, yes, I remember this. Can you generally describe, this is one of the little calendar pocketbooks, a kind of calendar pocketbook day planner with a calendar inside it. And it was in the purse, it was in the purse, yeah. At this time, the government would like to offer into evidence Exhibit 104, objection, relevance, hearsay as to what's written inside the calendar. If I may, Your Honor, the witness probably would need the item to flip to the specific pages of relevance, but I'm happy to inquire. The court, let me take a quick look. Do you wish to inquire further? Ms. Lamoureux, I do, Your Honor. Ms. Lamoureux, Agent Bartko, if you could please turn to that first page. Okay. Are there initials written at the top of the page in the there's like a section on that pad? I'm sorry, yeah, the section that came up, yeah. It's JR with a telephone number. Ms. Hayden, Your Honor, the court, wait, I'm assuming this is something intended to tie up later. Ms. Lamoureux, yes, Your Honor. The court, Ms. Hayden, Your Honor, if the witness is going to testify as to the contents before the item is entered into evidence, I'm asking you about your objection. Ms. Hayden, Your Honor, we'll be happy to stipulate that there's his phone number in that book. That's the only relevant thing that I see in the whole thing. The court, is there, Ms. Lamoureux, Your Honor? The court, yes. There are other items that are relevant inside. The court, well, Ms. Lamoureux, the document, it appears to be properly identified. It may be omitted. It appears to me properly identified. It may be admitted. That's 104. Ms. Lamoureux, yes. The court, I believe, yes. Plaintiff 104 admitted. Agent Bartko, you said the initials are JR. JR, is there a phone number next to those initials? Yes. What's the phone number? 907-982-2151. At this point, I think it would be easiest if we switch to a specific page number, and that is Exhibit 104, page 32. We'll pull that up on the screen, but you can also flip. It's on the back part of the calendar there. Do you see that? All right. Post-it note. Yes. You can go ahead and publish that, please. Is that the post-it note that you're looking at, the yes? Okay, is that on the last page of the yes calendar? Okay. On the last page, what do you see? What does it say? It appears to me that it looks like a map with a name and a phone number at the bottom. Okay. Can you read the names of the streets there? Yeah. Kind of, it looks like maybe Broadway, Tracy and Benz and something, Ben, B-E-N, and then the number down below. It looks like Marty, M-A-R-T-I, 590-9714. Okay, Ms. Lamoureux, are you able to blow that up actually? Sorry, great, thank you. Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you. If we could have the lights, Madam Clerk, turning now back to the role as the evidence custodian after the Vernon's arrest, were there other items that you took into custody? There were. Okay. Did you take any other money? Yes, I did. Let me show you what has been marked in Exhibit 103, and if you could just examine that item without showing it. Okay, do you recognize that item? I do. Is this something that you took into custody on March the 10th, Plaintiff's Exhibit 103? Yes. Lamoureux, at this time the government would like to offer into evidence Exhibit 103. No objection. Ms. Hayden, if I could inquire, Your Honor, voir dire by Ms. Hayden. Question, where did you get that? Answer, I took this from the CHS that was on the scene. When you say CHS, what do you mean? Confidential human source. And the blank contents of the exhibit came from him? Yes. Okay, Ms. Hayden, no objection. Mr. Dooley, no objection. The court 103 may be admitted. I'm under the impression that this source is no longer confidential. Can we use the name here? Plaintiff Exhibit 103 admitted. Ms. Lamoureux, yes, Your Honor. Direct examination by Ms. Lamoureux. Is that money that you received from Mr. Gerald Olson? I did not know his name at the time. It was the CHS. Did you know that the person who was handing you, yes, the money, I did know, was the confidential human source? Yes, I did know that. Ms. Lamoureux, I'm sorry, Your Honor, did you say that it was admitted? I intended to 103 may be admitted by Ms. Lamoureux. Could you please describe for the jury what that is? $750 in cash. We'll go ahead and show you what's marked as Exhibit 118, a photo. Do you see that on the screen? Yeah. Do you recognize it? I do. What is it? That's the cash that I see here. Ms. Lamoureux, at that time, the government would like to offer it into Exhibit 118. No objection from anybody. It may be admitted. Can you please publish it to the jury? Can you describe what we're looking at there? That's the cash that I took from the CHS. I fanned it out and took it on a piece of paper because it was in the snow. And how much was it? $750. I'd like to turn now to Ms. Lamoureux. Thank you. I'd like to turn now to the arrest of Schaefer Cox and Coleman Barney. What was your role as part of their arrest? It was the same role again. I was on the perimeter as a crisis negotiator if need be. And then we came in after an arrest, and again, I took some items. I'd like to show you what was already been admitted into evidence, Exhibit 75. If you could go ahead and examine the item. Yeah, okay. Do you remember taking the item into custody? I do. And what does it say? What is it? It's a Samsung cell phone with a sticker or a tape number on the back. And does it say anything? Yeah, it says it looks like either RAD or telephone number 907-268-9251. And you took that item into custody? Yeah. Ms. Lamoureux, I have no other questions for this witness. Traverso, Dooley, Hayden, no questions. The court, thank you, Ms. Bartko. Ms. Bartko, let me ask you one thing. Are you a special agent with the FBI, the witness? I am? All right, thank you. Okay. That's all for this document. I'll get this uploaded, and we'll move on to the next document as we get time.